Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. You are watching this video on Blackboard. You had to log into Blackboard with your user ID and a password. Was your password your student ID? If it was, maybe you should think about changing that. Today I'm talking to you about passwords. We live in an online world these days, and one of the pieces of advice that we are giving is that we need to use complex passwords. One password per site. This is very difficult. However, let's examine some of the dangers of having your passwords hacked or guessed, stolen. Some of the vulnerabilities of using one password on multiple sites or using same simple passwords like your favorite pet, 123, terrible password. We're also going to take a look at maybe one solution, which is using a password manager for your passwords. So, some of the dangers of having your password hacked. For large companies, this can be loss of revenue. In 2014, US News reported that hackers cost nearly $500 billion for lost business. For companies, individual companies, Sony was hacked. Sony has been hacked many times, actually. But the hack in 2014, around the time that the interview was supposed to come out, Business Insider reported this might have cost Sony up to $100 million in lost revenues, both immediately lost revenues as well as future things, such as actors or actresses not wanting to work with Sony in the future. You might have heard about Target having its credit card database hacked, so some of your personal details. You might have heard about the celebrities having their iCloud accounts hacked, and intimate details being released. This is one of the big dangers of having your passwords lost or hacked or stolen. But one of the problems is that most of us use simple passwords, and this is because we're not that smart. It's hard for us to, as people, to remember many complex passwords. We're not machines. But we really do need to do better. Gizmodo reported that in 2015, 123456 and password were still the most commonly used passwords for people's accounts, and this is so dumb. Also, it's very easy to guess lots of people's passwords. If you watch a YouTube video, Jimmy Kimmel password, type that into YouTube, and you can see people being tricked into giving out their passwords so easily. Be very careful with this. So one solution to trying to use more complex passwords, and one password for each site, is to use a password manager, which you can write down your passwords. However, because it's a password manager and it's an application, these are not stored in plain text. They are encrypted files, so people would have to know your password to get into the password manager. So using a password manager, if you use a very complex password, so for instance 24 characters long, it would be much harder for people to guess your password and get into your password manager, where you can then keep all your passwords. So you can keep your Gmail account and your YouTube account and your Steam account if you're a gamer, or your online banking details for that. So using a password manager can be a very good thing. They're free, they're easy to use. There are some issues. They're not a perfect panacea. Password managers are a single point of failure, so if somebody is able to get into your password manager, they would then have access to all your passwords, which would be very, very bad. But saying that, security always has trade-offs. Okay, it's always swings and roundabouts. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But to rehash, we do need to use lots of passwords in our daily lives. And there are some dangers if they're stolen. And most of us use simple passwords. So we need to get it out of this habit, because moving on, more and more of our lives are only going to be online. More of our accounts, more of our details. So it's very important that we have good passwords and that we protect our passwords very well. You can also watch my video. I'm going to do a second video demonstrating how to use a password manager. Please, I hope you have learned something about passwords and are going to go and think about changing some of your passwords. Thanks.